Your test comes back positive for H. pylori, and suddenly every bite feels like a gamble for your acid reflux or that rock in your stomach feeling. You're exhausted by talk of another round of antibiotics, but the internet lists of H. pylori killing foods also worry you because your stomach flares with almost anything. Really, you're asking, what can I eat that supports healing and doesn't make this worse? I'm Dr. Kenny, root cause health detective and IFM certified functional medicine practitioner, and sorting through this exact question is a big part of what I do every day. In this video, we'll walk through therapeutic food categories that can support your stomach environment and your treatment plan in a gentler way. If this type of information is hitting home, a quick boop on the like button helps this reach others in the exact same position. Most people in our conventional paradigm think that you have to attack H. pylori directly, but that's not exactly how the stomach heals. When I sit with patients, whether they've been newly diagnosed with H. pylori or we just find its DNA on a PCR test, for instance, I often tell them your stomach itself isn't a battlefield. It's a neighborhood, and neighborhoods function best when there is balance between the neighbors. This is the first pillar of foods we're going to talk about, foods that crowd out through competition. This includes fermented foods like plain yogurt, kefir, coconut yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, and other cultured vegetables that help to bring back balance. In fact, food is one of the strongest ways to actually alter your gut microbiome terrain. You're not directly fighting H. pylori with these foods, but you are reseeding the lawn so that the weeds, the H. pylori, doesn't have room to spread. Think of all of our trillions of beneficial microbes as the grass that keeps the soil covered and in place. When the grass is thin, obviously opportunistic plants and weeds can pop up quite easily. But when the grass is thick and healthy, or we see microbiome resilience, the weeds struggle to take hold. A recent clinical trial showed that fermented dairy, rich in beneficial bacteria, helped to reduce measurable markers of H. pylori, and they improved digestive comfort as well. We're not talking curative language here, but rather a terrain shift. And terrain shifts are often one of the most profound ways to influence gut health, not just in the short term, but long term, and your stomach when it needs healing. Your stomach is an important part of your digestive ecosystem. And when its function falters, H. pylori has the opportunity to grow in, and the presence of H. pylori alone can alter your stomach's ability to produce enough stomach acid. That creates downstream effects for how you digest and break down protein in many ways. Eating more fermented foods helps to take up a little bit more of the real estate because very few organisms can really survive stomach acid, but H. pylori is one of those notorious bugs that can. And by the way, if you like having the science behind all of this distilled into simple language, I've put together some of the research articles into a research summary that is patient-friendly, and you can download it in the pinned comment or the description below. It's a great way to see the evidence without all of the medical jargon. And when it comes to foods that help to crowd out H. pylori, these foods are a foundation as long as you can tolerate them. They make the stomach environment less chaotic so that your body and your treatment plan become more predictable. So now that we've strengthened the neighborhood, let's talk about the armor that H. pylori hides behind. If H. pylori hasn't budged for you in past treatments, this is probably why, and it's not always what you think. This second pillar is foods that help to weaken the protective barrier, and this protective barrier is called biofilms. Biofilms are like the armor of H. pylori and other organisms that wreak havoc along the digestive tract. They're not dangerous on their own, but they make the bacteria harder for your immune system to notice and to get to, and harder for therapies, whether they're antimicrobials or others, to contact the organisms they're going after. Foods like garlic, ginger, onions, leeks and radishes, and even mustard greens contain natural compounds that help to loosen that armor. So you're not melting the bacteria away technically, but you're making the environment less favorable for them to cling and hide in. This step matters greatly because many conventional and natural therapies treat H. pylori as if it's freely floating about. When you understand biofilms, your experience starts to make a lot more sense with the recurrence of H. pylori. This is why you might feel better for a week and then stall when it comes to treatment, or maybe why a single approach wasn't enough, or also why symptoms flare under stress or inflammatory situations. From a functional lens, biofilms act like a glue that helps bacteria stay attached to the stomach lining in the case of H. pylori. When that glue softens, and you can think of this almost like getting a sticker off of a piece of glass, your immune system can communicate with the area again and mount an appropriate attack. These aromatic foods mentioned above gently influence this layer, almost like pouring warm water or boiling water on that sticker to loosen it on a piece of glass. It just makes the natural processes more effective and predictable. And this matters because when your biofilms soften, your immune system can finally see what's going on again, and that's when people start to notice more steady progress in their symptoms and their test results. And once that glue or that stickiness starts to be less of a factor, the stomach is finally ready for something that it's been craving for some time, and that is protection. If your stomach reacts to almost everything you eat, for me it got so bad it was to the point that drinking water bothered it. This is why, and this is what finally brings relief after the first 2 points. The third pillar is all about protecting the surface. This isn't a forever game, but it helps in the acute phases of healing. Your stomach, though incredibly resilient against stomach acid, is also delicate at the same time. When it's irritated or reproducing less efficiently, even the right foods can feel wrong. And that's why creating conditions for comfort is just as important as anything aimed at H. pylori itself. Cabbage, especially lightly cooked or juiced, is one of my favorite tools to use here. It has compounds that help your stomach to rebuild its mucosal layer, or the protective coating that often gets thinned when there's irritation or inflammation long term. Food-grade aloe vera is another soothing option. It has a gel-like quality that many people describe as cooling. Why it's used for sunburns, but the same can be applied in its food-grade form to the digestive tract. A few of my long-term favorites that are both traditional and contemporary are bone broth, slippery elm, and marshmallow root. These are substances that provide another layer of buffering. They don't neutralize the stomach acid directly, but they do protect the lining so that the acid can do its job without causing pain. When the stomach lining has been irritated for a long time, it needs the materials to help rebuild and give it a break to allow it to repair. It's important to note that stress physiology can also slow down this repair process, which is why many patients notice symptoms that flare during particularly high-pressure weeks or deadlines, even though their food may not have changed. When people begin integrating these calming foods more regularly, the most common feedback that I receive is relief. It may not be perfection, but it's a trend in the right direction, and the sense that the stomach isn't fighting them anymore with every single food. And if you're hearing all of this and thinking, I wish someone could help me sort through my version of this, that's exactly why I created my Health Mystery Map call. It's an opportunity for a one-on-one with me to go over your case in more detail. So if you live in Texas, California, or Florida, in the states that I'm currently licensed, and are interested in having my eyes on your case, feel free to book that call. There's a link in the description below. So now that we've gone over foods that help to protect the lining, let's look at foods that gently influence the microbial balance from another direction. Natural antimicrobials don't work in the way that most people think, and that's actually what makes them so effective. This is the fourth food pillar, and this is gentle antimicrobial foods. Certain foods have natural antimicrobial properties, but not in the dramatic decimate everything way that our antibiotics are designed around. Garlic, ginger, black seed, raw honey in its manuka form, oregano and thyme, and some other spices as well all help to create subtle pressure that makes the stomach and the gut environment less welcoming for H. pylori and other opportunistic organisms. Think of these as the general maintenance team or the doing the dishes as you go so that we don't have problems that stack up. They don't storm in and destroy the balance in the gut, but they do tidy up the environment bit by bit, keeping things from getting out of hand. Raw honey, particularly manuka if possible, not the bare bottles on the shelves, has compounds that limit bacterial overgrowth while still being gentle and nourishing on the stomach. Oregano and thyme offer some similar benefits when they're used in cooking, or you can even sip them as teas. What surprises most people is that gentler approaches often work better simply because we're talking about cumulatively stacked benefits over time. And usually you're able to stick to them long enough that they can make a difference. When you can't sustain an approach, it doesn't matter how powerful it is on paper. And while these foods do help from one angle, there's another pillar that matters just as much. If your symptoms tend to go up and down relatively unpredictably, this might be the reason, and it might also be the fix. The fifth pillar is foods that lower inflammatory noise. Polyphenols are like the cleaning crew of the stomach world. Polyphenols are what give fruits and vegetables, for instance, their vibrant colors and some of the aromas as well. What they do is they lower the background noise, the irritation, the oxidative stress, because many of these polyphenols are antioxidants, and also the inflammatory signals in the body. This inflammatory background noise generally makes almost every problem in the body worse, including classic symptoms of H. pylori. A 2023 meta-analysis showed that polyphenol-rich compounds helped people respond better to standard treatment without adding side effects. And that's exactly how food in this category is meant to function, to be supportive, not to be forceful. Deeply colored berries like blueberries and pomegranate seeds offer incredible antioxidant compounds. Turmeric also offers gentle inflammatory support, especially in its more concentrated supplemental forms. And extra virgin olive oil adds another protective plant compound layer that helps to stabilize the stomach and digestive tract environment. Green tea is also conventionally studied, but also goes back to traditional Chinese medicine that has cooling and soothing properties on the stomach too. When these foods show up more regularly in your week, the stomach becomes a friendlier place for healing to occur. And when the static and the inflammatory noise is able to calm down from these anti-inflammatory signals from food, the stomach can finally respond to the rest of your healing in a more clear and predictable way. Now let's bring in the final piece that just ties everything together, your gut-immune connection. The sixth pillar is foods that help to tune immune balance. Your gut houses 70% of the immune activity of the body, and it's in constant conversation with your nervous system as well. When it's overwhelmed or undersupported, your stomach and the rest of your digestive tract struggles to repair even if everything else in your diet is dialed in. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts offer compounds that can help the stomach environment to stay calmer and more resilient. A human trial showed that broccoli seed extract helps to lower stomach inflammation markers, which mirrors what many patients feel when they add more cruciferous vegetables into their diet, especially lightly cooked, like steamed or sauteed on a lower heat. Kale and spinach are other ways to bring in micronutrients and some gentle fiber that help the gut to support its immune response. And then carrots and sweet potatoes also go back to traditional Chinese medicine, this same pathway of antioxidant compounds and stomach-friendly, nourishing foods. When inflammation in the stomach and digestive tract is high, small shifts in your immune resilience can go a long way when it comes to getting on the other side of pathology to repair. When people bring this piece in, the immune tuning, they often tell me everything starts to feel a lot more predictable. Again, may not be perfect, but it's no longer chaotic. And if you want to keep building a calmer stomach environment, the next thing I'd look at is foods to avoid that may potentially trigger H. pylori symptoms. And I go over that in this video here. I'm Dr. Kenny, Root Cause Health Detective. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.